Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Doing a bit of watering today, not a lot. I do it in over 3 days effectively. I don't count the mounts, they're on their own separate watering cycle. They have their own thing, which at the moment is every other day, but I'm switching the Vanders to every day, literally from today. So unless I'm away for some reason early in the morning, then they'll get done every day now. But this is a little bit interesting. This is the first of the resting Dendrobiums that have been lurking up in the bedroom. This is a no ID, although I'm pretty certain it's very close to Unisem. The name it had on the tag is just Cobblers, it's just not relevant. But when this blooms this time, I might try and get a positive ID, because I'm pretty certain it's a species, so I should be able to find it. If not, it's probably a primary hybrid because of the way the blooms look. But the rest seems to have done it the world of good. You know, these the leaved canes are my last year's canes, if you see what I mean. So they went into their rest with leaves on. The chances are they will drop their leaves not long after it blooms, but as you can see, there's a good deal of buds coming. It should be a nice show, despite being a tatty looking plant, but there's also some signs of green down in the base. So I've brought this one back down into the grow room today, and after it's finished blooming, I'm going to tidy it up, because there's an awful lot of those old canes are not of any use anymore. You know, little tatty little things like this, they're of no use. They're just making the plant look untidy. But I've just noticed there's actually some blooms on an old cane there. So I will update my notes accordingly, because I like to keep specific notes for a specific plant. I now know that this one likes a rest. Yeah, it worked well, it's produced loads of buds, it's done its thing, and also that it keeps its leaves on that year's canes through the winter. So it's not what I call a totally deciduous Dendrobium. The chances are those canes have got a 2-year cycle. So from a new growth, they push on well, with a fair bit of help, water and feed, growing season and all that. And then they go into their winter rest with leaves on, form their buds, and after blooming at some time during the following season while the new canes are growing on, those older canes will probably drop their leaves. But I'll update my notes accordingly. But this has very pretty little flowers on. You know, that's going to be quite a good show. There's a lot of buds on that, so we'll see how that one goes. And I'll see if I've got anything else as I go round. The other ones upstairs, there's nothing to film. The Nesta has buds forming on that huge cane I grew last year. The Anosmum semialba, not a sign of life. Nothing showing on that yet. And the other stuff up there just isn't really doing much. It's certainly not in a state where it's pushing buds or new growths, or preferably both, and warrants bringing out of its rest yet. So they're just going to stay up there for a while longer. If they don't come out of their rest soon, as we get into March, I'm going to have to bring them out of their rest whether they bud or not, because I need to push the new growths on. So that'll be the end of it, whether they like it or not. Okay, that's that one. As I say, it's a no ID, but I reckon with some blooms on it I might be able to get a positive ID. It's the sort of thing I could chuck on. There's a Facebook group called Dendrobium Species. If I chuck a picture in there, there's a lot of real serious Dendrobium guys and girls in there. Somebody will probably ID it for me. It's worth a try. I might get told off because it's not a species, but at least I know that then. We'll see how we go. That's got kitchen time written all over it. Basically, when the strongest, healthiest cane on a den fowl decides to shed its leaves, the chances are there's something wrong in the pot. And the chances are there's something wrong is what it's potted in. It's never been repotted since I got it. And den fowls tend to push roots out at the same sort of time as new growths. And I've got one here, one there, and another little one here coming off of where I cut that cane off. So it's got signs of new growth, so in theory this may be a good time to get it out of its pot, but I'm not prepared to leave it in there. It's got all the hallmarks of the base totally rotted, but I won't know till I get it out the pot. But if you look at this cane here, you move it, the whole plant moves. That's not a sturdy joint with the base of the plant. So that plant may even be lost. I must admit, they're not my favourite plants, and for some reason they don't grow as well as my other Dendrobiums. They're in a class of their own, and I don't do that well with them. But at the least I can do is get that out of the pot and see what I've got. And if that base is starting to rot, there's just no point in keeping it. You know, I mean, these are a £5 in supermarket stores. They're not, you know, I haven't taken out a bank loan to get the thing. And I'm sure it was very pretty when it was in flower, but I don't think it's happy, so it's going to come out of the pot. I'll let you know sometime in the future. And just as a comparison, the next one I picked up, I mean, if you look at this one, this would have been the nursery grown cane that was in flower, the reason why it was bought. That was its previous cane. But if you just look round the base of the plant, it's got good strong new canes coming. You know, there's 2 good canes there, and yeah, there's a sign of another one. So, and they're growing on nicely. Whether I'll achieve a big fat cane like that, I don't actually care. It doesn't have to be that big and fat to bloom. That's just how the nursery grew it. As long as these canes grow on and reach maturity, then it should bloom. Well, that's a bit more like what one should like. And what I like about this one is it's not a giant. You know, that's the biggest, fattest cane it's probably ever going to produce. So it's only that high. That's more like it. Some of them are up here, you know, and you still get the same blooms on them. So I'd rather have a small, squatty looking one with blooms on the top. Suits me better. I don't keep knocking the blooms about then. But that's a bit more like what one should look like. And this is good news as well. This is the Victoria Reginiae, or A, however you flipping say that. But it's growing a nice new growth. I mean, this was just a pot of kikis. I've never expected much. But young Oliver from Oliver's greenhouse showed the new cane he's just grown on his and just put mine totally to shame. So I'm going to show this plant that video and say, oi, that's what that new growth is supposed to look like by the end of the season. Now get your act together. But for a pot full of kikis, I was pleased to grow 2 canes like that in a season. And yeah, there's only 1 new growth showing at the moment, but that'll do for now. It's got plenty of time. I mean, that's a sort of continuous grower, although if you keep them soggy in the winter when it's cold, you probably lose it. But you know, they don't like to dry out totally in their growing season, and in the colder months in the winter they certainly don't want to stay dry for more than a day or 2, you know, which might mean watering only once every 2 weeks. But that's not strictly speaking a rest. It just means it's not growing much and it's not using the water, so you don't give it to it. You know, don't make plants soggy if they're not growing. So anyway, that one's coming on. No sign of buds yet. But then I wasn't expecting any. You know, let's give it a chance. It's a really young plant. I mean, this is probably its 3rd season from when those kikis were broken off. And they didn't have very good roots when I got it. So at least it's pulled on. And I just quickly popped this one in. These were the 2 little kikis that Rachel put in the box with my clay pots when she sent them over. And they were badly desiccated, fair enough. And this cane probably isn't going to straighten those leaves out now, but this cane has straightened up. Yeah, that's put, and that leaf has grown a little bit, but the important thing is down in there at the base. We got root growth and we got a new basal growth as well, so we got a new cane starting. And I think we got signs of life, we got signs of root growth in the pot. So soggy wet at the moment, it's just been watered. But yeah, so it's coming on. Made it, I think is the expression. Yeah, coming on. Quite looking forward to that. I think it's one I've already got. I'm not sure. I've been told that this is Spring Dream Apollon. But it came with no ID. You know, I'm not sure. This one has quite a high percentage of pink on it. And the Spring Dream Apollon tends to be white with quite a deep green centre. Well, this hasn't got a deep green centre and it has got a fair bit of pink on it. So I'm not so sure. But the ones, you know, the ones from Rachel definitely are. You know, that's a named plant, so I'm happy with that. This one I'm quite happy to just call a hybrid. Actually, I'm not happy to call it a hybrid. It's a pretty hybrid. That's more like it. It's just desserts. Some lovely little blooms on that one. And it chucks out a fair few without any formal rest or any nonsense like that. It just does its thing. This monstrosity here, I've got to hold my hand up. I've been talking quite a lot about at what point do plants put their roots out, and that's a good time to repot them. What isn't a good time to repot them is when they've got a nice shiny new growth and the old roots are in media that's broken down. That's about the worst time to repot something, because you've missed your chance. It's too late. And that's what I did with this one. But, I mean, the new growth has pushed on. The bulb isn't far off the size of the previous one, and it is producing a cane. Due to its lack of roots under this growth, because basically I lost them, I don't think that cane will be as good as the previous one. All I can hope for now is, it's in Orchiata bark, which will last for years, I'm quite happy with that, is that the next new growth will get its roots straight down into the media at the appropriate time, and I won't have to disturb it. So that's its hope for the future. But that cane's pushing on quite nice. I mean, if it grows to its full potential, it'll be a good 2 foot long, and I think last time it had about 50 blooms on it. I don't expect the earth this time. As I said, I haven't killed the plant, but I've spoiled its potential by not getting that out of the breaking down media and into some new media at the appropriate time. It is so important, you know. I mean, some plants will just pull through. This one hopefully will. I mean, if you can imagine the amount of stored energy there are in those old back bulbs. And this one's still got a full set of leaves, so this is still photosynthesizing as well. And even this old bulb's still got 2 leaves. So, you know, it can get some strength into the plant without the best root system and probably support that cane. But time will tell. Now, you haven't heard me talking about bugs for quite a long time. That's because I've virtually eradicated them. But this is one that did get potted at the right time. Yeah, it actually got put in its new media before the old media broke down. And now it's starting to push out new roots, and they'll go straight into new media. And again, semi-mature bulb. But I always go round checking sheaths, you know, let's just have a quick look down in here, is there anything lurking? And I've virtually eradicated. But then you pull one back like that. That's an outbreak. Very confined. So that's only just happened in between last watering and this watering. Now that's nothing more than probably a single egg or something that was tucked in there and just got missed. Okay, so they're still around, but that's easily dealt with. I mean, the spray I've got is a contact killer, and they're about to get contacted. But yeah, the rest of the plant's clean. It's just that one place. That's all it takes. Now, if that was midwinter and I was only watering every 9-10 days, that lot, if they broke out just after I'd watered it, would have that long to spread round that plant. But they won't get the chance now. You know, the watering is more frequent, and that's the first bugs I've found today. Not a light until then, but they're still around. But I can cope with that. You know, I mean, I could deal with that with just a Q-tip and some alcohol if I wanted to. In fact, I probably will, because this spray, you know, they say if you're going to spray with a chemical on plants, don't stick to the same one all the time, because you could build up a resistant strain of some bugs in your own environment, just specially for you, and that's really not what you want. So they say rotate. Try and get 3 different ones and rotate round them. Well, here in the UK, there is one. We're only allowed to have one. So how the hell am I supposed to rotate? So the government have cut their own throat by restricting our access. Yeah? I've now only got one serious chemical that's systemic that actually works. So I can't rotate. Now, if people are using that out in the environment, like on the farms and things like that, we're going to get back to resistant strains again, and then somebody's going to have to invent a new chemical. You know, it's just making work for the future. It's very short-sighted, very, very short-sighted. We are supposed to be responsible adults, but yeah, I'm just going to use alcohol and a Q-tip. I can just get at them, because I can see them, you know, and there aren't any others lurking around that I can see, and if there are, I'll get them next time. But that's it, so far, that's the only ones I've found. And I do check thoroughly. I get down in all the sheaths. I try and get as many of them off as I can, then there's nowhere to hide, but these are really strong. I've just tried tearing one of these off, and all of my strength would have pulled the whole plant out of the pot, and the sheath still wouldn't have broken, so I'd have to get the scissors on it. And at the moment I got delicate new roots coming out where the sheaths are, so that's a no-no. Anyway, I will deal with that little outbreak right now.